if I had any advice for anybody who's getting, whether it's you're going from college to pro ball, from the minor leagues to the big leagues, maybe just making a change in the business world to a different job, when you get there, listen more than you speak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, I'm extremely excited about my guest today. As a matter of fact, the whole house was excited about my guest today because I got a co-host joining me in the studio today, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. Folks, check it out. I'm going to get right into it. All right. I don't even have to read this one because I already know I'm a huge fan. So I'm fanning out a little bit in here maybe. So if you can't tell, folks, check it out. He is a former D1 athlete. And he is the current assistant hitting coach for the New York freaking Yankees. And if you're watching with us, you can see by all the swag we're wearing today. Folks, give it up for my man, Casey Dykes. Let's go. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on. It was about a 30-minute drive coming up from Eagleville, Tennessee. So it was nice that it was close to home here. And I was thinking on my way up, this is the first live podcast I've ever done. I've done a ton of them, on Zoom or on the phone in a dugout, things like that. But to come in the studio, as sick of a studio as this is, especially, and do a live podcast, man, is special. So I appreciate you guys having me and look forward to it, man. Let's get after it.
First hit of the day, baby. And let me introduce my co-host over here, right? So he's a 4-time guest on the Hitstreak. I believe this is his 4th episode to co-host. And he's even producing them now. He's produced a couple episodes and logging those in the books, right? So, and honestly, I didn't know I was going to have a co-host today. He just showed up. So welcome, my boy, my number one, Ethan Hyder. Ethan, how we doing today?
Unstoppable. I love being here, especially for this one. We're talking about Yankee baseball. I had to be here for this. This is freaking awesome.
That's right, baby. That's right. He's ready to go. If you can't tell,
he's ready, decked out. Baby. I love all the Yankees gear in here.
Well, like one of the things that first comes to mind, Casey, and I'm going to tell a story a little bit. Everybody knows that we haven't been shy about it at all. That we got literally on-field access at Yankee Stadium last year. It was thanks to Casey and a wonderful introduction from my man Hunter Bledsoe. So shout out to Hunter. But all right, man. I got to know, Casey, because you're definitely younger than me. All right, so and you're at the top. You're coaching on the staff of the most decorated sports franchise in all of history, in all of sports history. And you've done it at such a young age. So I'm honestly, man, I'm really intrigued. How in the world how'd you get here?
It's been definitely a whirlwind. It's happened rather fast, and I'm incredibly blessed to be where I'm at. It's, a lot of things have obviously came together, over the last few years to end up where I'm at today. And, I try not to take it for granted, try to, make the most of the opportunity I'm getting, because I don't know, who knows how long you get to do, what you're doing. So there's definitely plenty of times throughout the year where I got to pinch myself and, walk out on the field and just be extremely grateful and thankful that I get to do it again. But for me, it's honestly, the journey itself has really just been, it's all came together because of people I've been, in touch with, along the way, whether it's been people that have impacted me, or it's maybe been people that I've had an opportunity to impact. It's just kind of led from one thing to another. And, I tell myself all the time, I'm undeserving of this, but obviously extremely grateful that, I get to do what I do on a daily basis and call it work.
That's right. And E, I know, I love what you're doing over there. So any stuff you want to get for your own socials with your phone stuff, feel free to knock yourself out, baby. That was good. I love that he's doing that. You know what I mean? He was taking some stuff for Instagram. Nice. So yeah, help yourself out, man. All right, so here's what I'm hearing. And sometimes I'll tell people dude, you're a master at this. And they're like, yeah, I guess so, because you wouldn't be where you're at. So all businesses, all sports teams are built by people for people, right? And so at the end of the day, relationships are a currency that you invest in, but you also, there's a skill set that's required to do that. And you can't get where you're at without being a master of relationships. As a matter of fact, folks, the relationships come with a great responsibility at the highest level. because, you have trust, a whole lot of trust that has been put into you from, well, let's just say this. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in the locker room at Yankee Stadium stays in the locker room, right? So needless to say, you're a master at relationships and you've earned a whole bunch of trust, man. Like, so is that something that you're aware of when you're doing it, or does it just kind of come natural?
Yeah, I think it's taken work, definitely, through experience, through mentors of mine, people in my life who have made an impact on me. Obviously, all things set aside, when I was 16, 17 years old, or even younger than that, like my dream was to play in Yankee Stadium, not necessarily to coach in Yankee Stadium. But at the end of the day, I think for every athlete, the career itself comes to an end. And I think what you spend your time investing in and learning during that time prepares you for whatever comes after you're done playing. And for me, I kind of always knew that coaching was probably in my future. I didn't know at what level, but mainly it was because I knew that I watched myself change just throughout my teenage years and into my early 20s. And I saw that, coaches, whether it was my youth coaches to my dad to my college coaches, I saw the impact they had on me, and it was like, man, I want to do that one day. I want to do that for people one day. And so I was definitely learning and gaining experience the whole time, and kind of just putting those skills kind of in my back pocket. And for me, coaching, there's a lot of knowledgeable coaches out there, right? A lot of people and there's so much education out there right now, especially now with social media and everything that goes into it, that I don't think necessarily the knowledge itself is what separates you, as a leader or as a coach. I think it's the skill set of relationships. And so I think learning how to be available, how to care for others. If you want to be trusted, you got to be trustworthy. So proving that to people and proving that you're trustworthy allows them to be able to, trust you. And then you continue to build. And now when there is an opportunity for you to help somebody, they're willing to hear you out. And, there's a lot of knowledgeable people out there. If everybody just wanted answers, they find the most knowledgeable people, but it's not really how life works. Like, they go to people that they trust and they can lean on, who are there for them. And I think genuinely caring and trying to be that person throughout my coaching career has allowed me a lot of super special opportunities to impact people that I never knew if I would get the opportunity to or not. And I've been put in a place where I've gotten to do that, and it's been special.
It's unbelievable, isn't it, E? Like it's unbelievable. So, and I would think that, like, it's hard enough to get recognized or to be recognized as a player, but like as a coach, like I ask Ethan's team a lot. All those guys want to play college ball, right? So, do you know what question I'm leading up to? Do you know what I'm talking about? So I ask them all the time. They all want to play college ball. I'm like, dude, first thing you got to figure out is what's going to make, like, why would how do you stand out to your own high school coach? You know what I mean? What are they looking for in you? And it's not necessarily what you. I would say, as a coach, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm looking for leaders, man. I'm looking for leadership. I'm looking for people who know what we're doing and have an impact to make it better, and make sure that we can maintain that culture at the highest level.
Right. Yeah, culture's a word that I'm very fond of, because I think, and you're kind of talking about this a little bit, but culture is way much. You see it all the time. You see the word culture all the time, right? And I think it's so much more than that. Like, culture is a living, breathing organism that needs to be tended to on a daily basis. And as a leader, like, that is your number one responsibility, is to protect that and to water that and to help that, to aid in the growth of that culture, because it takes time and effort on a daily basis and consistency to grow it. And it takes the smallest thing to completely tear it down. And I think that's, something that I've always felt very strongly about. I've been fortunate to be a part of some good ones, and it seems like all the good ones are the same, and the ones that fall apart, it doesn't take long, man, to tear those down.
Well, because I tell them all the time, I'm like, guys, every player in the big leagues is really good. So how can you take a team, the same amount of really good players, and one team wins 100 games and another team loses 100 games? And I'm like, it's leadership and culture, period. From how well do the players play together, were they able to come together on a common goal? And more importantly, who what's the quote that you hear all the time? Bad teams, nobody leads. Good teams, coaches lead. Great teams, players lead.
Yeah. Right.
And honestly, I think that's a key to the Yankees is, do any other big league teams have captains?
Maybe they do in-house, but I'm not aware of one that, is wearing a C on their chest like 99 is for us.
Mm-hmm. But in other sports, you see that, right? E, do you know? Are there any other captains that you know of on any other major league teams?
Honestly, I've never really thought about that because I really only have heard of the Yankees captains,
It's it's kind of like certain people, they're known for just a first name only, like Madonna or people like that. And there's a handful of baseball players that are known as the captain,
right?
Which is way cooler than a first name, I would think. Yeah.
No doubt.
All right. So Ethan, you get to hear it from literally straight from the horse's mouth, man. So obviously this is a guy that's a master of being recognized for the skill sets that he brings, the value that he brings to others. And because again, you wanted to get to Yankee Stadium, you did. And Hunter always says life's fair, everybody's price is just different. Which I freaking love. And, so you didn't make it, but let's talk about his playing career for a minute. Get some questions ready for his playing career. Right? He played D1. That's the next stop you want to go, right? So let's talk about you as a player. So you played at WKU, Western Kentucky, which is a great program. Has been for a long time. A long time. Did you grow up here?
I grew up in Franklin, Tennessee. Yeah, born and raised. My parents moved here in the 80s. So we're, as Nashville's grown, we're kind of the OGs of this area.
That's right. And you played. Hunter was one of your coaches coming up, but you played on that unbelievable team where it was you and Sonny Gray, and who else was on that team?
Man, we had Matt Williams, who didn't debut in the big leagues, but played AAA for a long time. He's now coaching college. Navery Moore, Will Kleiner, both arms that played at Vandy.
Crazy.
We had Robert Lawrence, Boo Butler, some MTSU Lipscomb guys. Man, we were pretty loaded.
I know.
Seth Lentz, I think, was a second rounder out of maybe Marshall County or something. But it was like we were called the Brentwood A's.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Hunter kind of, I think he saw a couple guys in that area, like, okay, we got some pretty decent players around here. Let's try to bring some of them together. And I think there was only one age group. This wasn't a brand of a summer travel team. This was like just we wore green A's t-shirts and whatever pants we could find, and we went out and
dominated.
Yeah, we were good. We were loaded. We had some good times.
What years did you play at Western Kentucky, and what position were you?
So I played from spring of 2009 till 2012. I came in as a catcher, actually, and kind of caught outfield DH my freshman year, and then basically played third base every day from my sophomore through my senior year.
Got it. And, I was fortunate enough to play a few years past college, which is great. I made hundreds of dollars, as we like to say,
Yeah.
So what was you played all 4 years at Western Kentucky. Obviously, you wanted to play at the next level. What was it? What was it that kept you from doing that? Did you change sites? How'd that go?
Yeah, that's probably there's a lot of reasons. Some of those being all those brought on myself. A lot of those being some distractions off the field, things like that probably wasn't as dedicated as I should have been at that time. I was a pretty decent sized recruit coming out of high school. Some chances to play football Division I, II, and
okay.
Actually thought about playing both at one point, and decided just to play baseball at Western. And when I finished up there, wasn't drafted. Was like I was a really good corner infielder with below average power, which isn't a good profile to play professional baseball.
Yeah.
So ended up not working out for me. But I was going to go play independent ball. It was kind of like plan B, I guess, at the time. And I actually was dating a girl who is now my wife, and she was playing basketball at Western Kentucky.
Okay.
So I kind of had a couple choices to make. Do I go pursue this, try to hit my way out of indie ball when I couldn't hit my way into, affiliated ball out of college? So I don't know if that's the smartest move.
Yeah.
Do I go to maybe a D2, use my fifth year of eligibility to go to like a D2 and try to play football, pursue the football thing? with a 5th year, or do I stay and take this graduate assistant coaching job and maybe start coaching a little sooner than I want to, but have a chance to get my foot in the door early, try to learn, try to develop, and really try to make a career out of this. So trying to look at that from a long-term perspective, and knowing that Cheney was there, my wife, that was the one that seemed to be the right move at the time. And obviously I'm extremely grateful now that we got a family, we got married, we got 3 kids, and that decision to stay in Bowling Green was the best decision, I've made.
So 3 kids, they're playing. They're no longer playing man-to-man defense. They're zone defense now. So we got 2. We got 2. It's like having 2 only children. He's 15 and our daughter's 3. So it's like we're learning to drive and potty training all at the same time.
Okay.
So it's
variability.
It's a good time for sure. All right. So this is I'm having a good time. Yeah, I know. So I told you I'll pass it to you, dude. If you come up with any questions, bring it. I want you to contribute to this sucker for me. Would you do that?
Yeah.
My man. All right. So your career at WKU ends. You decide to chase a different type of dream. All right. So this had to be she's got to be. I've never met her before, but she's got to be amazing, because you're like, I'm going to coach baseball, and she went along with that.
Yeah, she's special. I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. She's the MVP. She's the MVP of the household. She's the one who keeps it all together, keeps me straight, puts up with me, all the above. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that. I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for her. And, she was an athlete, so she kind of understands that side of it, which obviously I'm thankful for. But like all 3 of our kids were born in different states. We've moved – man, we've lived in Kentucky, Virginia, Indiana, Florida. Now we're back in Tennessee. We've been married for 10 years. So we're averaging a move every 2 years right now through 10 years of marriage. And she hasn't blinked an eye along the way. She's been right there by my side the whole time, and definitely been the backbone of the family. And she's a nurse by trade. But right now she's a full-time job of taking care of the 3 little ones. They're 3, 5, and 7. So we're in the thick of it.
Let's go.
Yeah, she's doing that. And she's going to take on the role of teaching this spring. She's going to homeschool all of them. So
we're doing that. That's dude, I'm telling you, that's the right way to do it. And then there's these unbelievable, there's these great hybrid schools. Yeah. Here that my wife's an expert on, and like there's some good ones. He goes to one. He's a product of one. Yeah. You get a ton of time, you get a ton of value, but more importantly, like when y'all are traveling, you need to go. It's like a lot of celebrities put their kids in those so they can go on the road with them, and you get the best of everything.
That was kind of the thing with us, was how do we maximize this time, this season in our life? Who knows how long this season's going to last? Who knows what's coming next? We're prepared for that, but at the same time, we want to try to maximize this and take advantage of it. And it's like we were alluding to earlier, we got a chance to right now coach for the New York Yankees. And how do we get, our kids, our boys, especially now that they're 5 and 7 and in love with baseball, more involved in this. So they're coming down to Florida with me for spring training. They're going to be there for all 2 months. They're not going to have anything handcuffing them, keeping them back from traveling and going to different stadiums. And I mean, they love it. They want to be a part of it. They deserve to be a part of it. And it's my job to make sure that that's the case. So we're going to do that this spring and see how it works and go from there. So it's a new journey for us. We're excited.
I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more. It's great that you guys are all experiencing all those things together, because separation can be hard. Yeah. And strain on those relationships, So the fact that they're able to do that and you guys split. So you guys are living in New York probably like 8 or 9 months out of the year, right? So This is home, but you're only home for the holidays at the end of the day.
Exactly. I'm here during the winter months, and New York and whatever city we're in every 6th or 7th day is home for a few days. And so we bounce around. We're good with it. The kids they've been on more planes, more flights in the last 3 years than I probably took in my first 20 years of life. Yeah. Which has been cool. So they're pretty good at adapting. which is a cool skill set to learn at a young age.
Yeah.
And obviously I know it can be challenging for them, but at the same time, I think it can be a strength too. And that's what we're trying to lean into is make it a strength for our family. And at the end of the day, yeah, I'm a coach by trait, but I'm a father, I'm a husband. Like those take priority over coaching. And so making sure that we have that taken care of is what we're trying to lean into.
No doubt, all day long, man. So my boy over here is for his age, I would call him an advanced goal setter. Like he accomplishes great things and sets his mind to things and does the work and gets there. I would say for nobody gets to where you're at by accident. All right. So I want to talk about as you're making the shift from playing, because, we all have to reinvent ourselves and come up with new, better versions all the time. Just like our phone's going to have a 2.0 and a 2.1 software update, right? We have to always do that for ourselves and grow. The world's changing. We change. And there, I'm always kind of blown away that we don't, that we take it for granted because think about it. When your kid, when your oldest graduated kindergarten, they made this big spectacle about a ceremony and they graduate. It was like graduating high school, but he graduated kindergarten. Right. And then, so I'm in first grade and 13 years in a row, you get to reinvent yourself from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior. And then a lot of times we'll go into the workforce and we just stop. We just stop doing that. So, you went from one of the hardest things to do. And I talked to Coach Tim Corbin, Coach Jeff Forehand, Coach Dave Jarvis, all the D1 coaches here about this exact same thing.
Love all those guys, man.
Dude, it took me 7 years to figure out who Nick Hyder was when he was done playing baseball.
Right.
It was a real struggle. I called it an identity crisis. So how did you make the shift from player to coach? And then you obviously got to be great at setting goals, man, because look where you got to in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's interesting. For me, I think the most important thing I did when I started into this coaching, journey, on this coaching journey, was I was never afraid to do the dirty jobs, to do the small things, to do the things that nobody else wanted to do. And that was, I think, allowed me to gain some respect of the people I was around. And around, you mentioned value earlier. It allowed me to add value, which ultimately that's who people want around them. They want people who bring value, whether that's on a coaching staff, whether that's in a business, whether that's in a clubhouse, whatever it is, they want people around who add value. And when I made it a point to try to do the things that nobody else wanted to do, all of a sudden now there were other responsibilities that people started giving to me these are actually responsibilities that people care about, but they've seen that, I've done a good job at the thing that nobody wanted to do. So let's see if he can do the thing that we actually care about. And so the work ethic and not shying away from that, I think opened some doors for me at a young age. And then as I got into it, I realized the value of impact. And I say that all the time. I talk about impact, and especially when we talk about goal setting, because people ask me all the time, like, hey, what's your next goal? You're 34 years old, you're going on your fourth year coaching in the big leagues. Like,
crazy.
Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be a head hitting coach? You want to go back to college and be a head coach? And for me, I may be a little bit different. I may be a little bit different in from this aspect, but I'm very short-term oriented when it comes to goal setting. I'm trying to be the best that I can possibly be where my feet are right now.
Gotcha.
I don't think too far ahead, but my goal, and when people ask me this, my goal is to make an impact where I'm at today. And I trust that God's going to open or close doors for me based off of that tomorrow. I think it says in the Bible that don't worry about tomorrow, for today brings enough troubles of its own. And that's kind of how I try to live. It's all right, what do we need to do today to make an impact? And if we do that, I believe tomorrow, the opportunities are going to be there to make more. And then the next day and next day, and just try to do that consistently. And all of a sudden, I feel like I've kind of done that in my coaching career, and I look up and I'm kind of where I'm at. But if you would ask me 7 years ago, hey, do you want to coach in the big leagues for the Yankees? I'd have been like, I don't know, not really. I was coaching in college. I was having a great time. I was trying to impact the players I was with at that time. And by doing that, I think it allowed me to, be a person that people wanted to be a part of, whatever organization they were in charge of. And so it kind of brought some people into my life that decided to give me opportunities, and then just take that next opportunity and run with it and go from there. So I don't really know what,
that was killer, bro.
Yeah, I don't know what life holds for me 5 years, 10 years down the road. But I know, like, where I'm at right now, if I can make an impact on the people around me, then, it's going to put me in a really good position to, hopefully do that again tomorrow.
I heard the Live Out Loud Brooke, great keynote speaker. I heard her on stage one day. She defined impact as when you apply your God-given abilities to the marketplace. And I was like, man, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
That was really good, right? So, Ethan, like, obviously, so he said he's more worried about those short-term goals, right? Because that's what's most important today. But obviously, when you start playing baseball, the ultimate goal was Major League Baseball, the big leagues, right? So that, and then he's just been working backwards from that. So he had a lot of people. The mistake we make is we focus on the big goal and forget all the little goals that you have to achieve,
no doubt,
to get there, right? So, Ethan, do you have what feedback do you have? Because you're a great goal setter, dude. You're a great goal setter. Do you have any questions pop up for Mr. Casey so far? Or?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
As a
if you're a goal setter, you got any goals for us right now? What's the goal for this next year or two?
Me and him we're still figuring that out. But for me, it's just finding out ways to get closer to center field at Yankee Stadium. Just figuring out how to get there right now.
I love that.
That's right. And I get roasted online for talking about this sometimes, because like as a parent, there's three jobs I think that we really have as parents in day one. Number one is they introduce and know Jesus Christ.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two is do they know why God brought them here? Right. What their purpose is? How are they going to make an impact on the world?
Absolutely.
And then, and do they know what that is? And then number three is can they learn how to make the choices to actually get there and fulfill their purpose? Yeah. And he said, a few years ago, he wanted to do some acting. He wanted to be the next Spider-Man in the Marvel movies. I still think he'd do a great job at that. And if they offered it to you, you might do it. But
I don't know.
But he's like straight up. He's like, dude, I want to play center field at Yankee Stadium. And as a guy that played baseball for a very long time, and at a very high level, I don't know one player. I don't know one person that I can say, yeah, I know one person personally that played at Yankee Stadium. And I know a lot of people, which means it's a fraction of a percent of a percent,
yes, right,
that get to do that, which means the hardest part to do as a teenager is when your friends are going to do this, they're not going to Yankee Stadium, so you got to do something different. Right. And I'm trying to teach him that, like, you can earn the Coke or the soda, but like when you just go grab one blindly out of the fridge, you got to ask yourself, is that taking you closer to Yankee Stadium or further away? Right. And I would say, Casey, like I don't know, like I'm going to figure this out, how to get this out of you, because like you've got something that's just magical that, like, I mean, you've done something that every coach would say, yeah, I'd love to coach for the New York Yankees. That's like the ultimate, like the highest level you can get to on anything, and especially in the world of baseball. So obviously
everything, I mean, you said it, like everything matters.
Yeah.
I think the quicker you can wrap your mind around that, by everything, I mean everything, every single decision you make matters. It's going to have you're never going to stay the same. It's going to make you better. It's going to make a positive impact on the direction you're trying to go, or it's going to make a negative impact on the direction you're trying to go. And the quicker you can wrap your mind around that, I think that's a deep concept to understand. But the quicker you can apply that, the more you start to see that in the decisions that you're making on a day-to-day basis. Like I joke around now. I mean, my kids are 5 and 7, but obviously you're trying to lay this foundation with them at a young age, and we'll get done just playing ball in the backyard, and I'll point around the neighborhood at different houses, or we'll be the only ones at the ball field hitting, and I'll be like, hey, who else here got better than y'all today? And they look around, they're like, nobody. I'm like, all right. I said, now what about the next neighborhood? I said, did anybody else do anything over there? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, if they did, then y'all are now equal. So what are you going to do tomorrow? Like always trying to think about like whatever you do or don't do, somebody else did or didn't do. There's always that going on. And if you're trying to get somewhere, there's other people who are trying to get there too. But are you taking a step backwards and letting them go forward today, or are you matching them every step of the way? And a lot of times it's me joking with them because they're young, but also I know that the more I say it, the more it's going to stick with them.
I mean, so first of all, folks, check this out. I mean, because your position is not an easy position. I would say it's an extremely difficult position because, you said it before, you played D1, you didn't play big league baseball. And you're with the most decorated franchise in all of sports, the best franchise, if I throw that out there on myself, and with the best baseball players on earth. And your job is to add value to people that have played at a higher level than you played at. So like, how in the world do you even, first of all, you got to have confidence to do that. You got to be pretty secure in yourself. But again, if you're authentic, confidence just kind of comes natural. How are you able to because these are all relationships. He's in the relationship business, folks. How are you able to add value to the best of the best, the top percentage of a percent in the world at something?
I think confidence is found in the work. Confidence is found in the daily disciplines of your life. So first and foremost, like I got to check myself and make sure I'm in the right place physically, spiritually, mentally. And when I do that, it sets me in a position now to go exude that confidence on other people and to try to help them. Like, am I doing my own work on the side to prepare for whatever questions these players may have? Or am I taking care of my body and being an example to them? Or am I being a slob and then trying to tell them, hey, you need to get yourself together, because people look at, they obviously look at the experience and the playing, and that holds a lot of weight. But in my case, I don't have that. So what are the other things that I can do that show like, hey, like, yeah, I didn't play there, but the things that go into being successful, like I'm taking care of those on my end. And then now they can look at me and see that. And then it's just being, I think a lot of it's availability.
Yeah.
Like people want people who are available, and they reach out to people who are available more than, if you're not available, they stop reaching out to you. So I think a lot of that is making yourself available, and that takes sacrifice. And a lot of times that's tough, especially, with family and things like that. But, there has to be a little bit of an understanding that if we're going to do this as a family and we're going to be successful with it, like I have to, do my job to be available to these players when they need me. And there's an understanding, within the family of that. So, I think a combination of all those, allows me to have confidence, to gain trust, and then, ultimately just be prepared, because you never know. Like, you never know when the questions, like hitting it extremely hard, and it's different at this level because I'm not, you're not as much as maybe a dictator as you are at younger levels. Like, I'm not telling these guys how to do it. They know how to do it. A lot of times maybe they forgot what they were doing when it was going well. And they may need somebody to help remind them of that. And so making sure that you're staying on top of it, so when they come to you, like, you're prepared. And I think there's also like, there's being real with people and not having an ego, and not being afraid to say like, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. And not BSing them. I think that matters. I think a lot of times everybody wants to know every answer because they want to impress people, and they want to, I got it. I'm ready for you, or they want to go up to somebody and tell them like, hey, you should do this way, because this is what I saw or what I read in a book or whatever. And a lot of times it's having that patience to sit back and wait and be available for the opportunity. And then when somebody comes to you, being able to have something of value to bring to them because you're prepared and you've been patient and waited for that opening.
No doubt.
With guys. So
how important, like, obviously you take care of yourself. You're in outstanding shape, man. In my 30s were the rough point for me. I was like 55 pounds heavy. I was a slob, bro, in my 30s. I look at pictures when he was young and I'm like, golly, what? I'm embarrassed, but obviously, like, you get it. So how important is, like, because your fitness and your discipline, obviously people recognize that, right? They recognize that. How important is that in your overall thing, from setting your mindset to getting in that position to be like, I got to go add value to these guys today? So it's like you said yourself, you're in a stable spot, you're on your own, right? So you're able to provide that. You have to, you can't help somebody on an airplane that went down if you're passed out on the floor because you don't have a mask on. Right, you have to put the mask on yourself first.
Yeah, I mean, I think your body is your billboard. You know, when you walk into a place and you're making that first impression on somebody, a lot of that is, how do you look? How do you present yourself? And it doesn't mean that if you don't present yourself in that way, you're not knowledgeable or you can't help them. But the reality of it is, people are judgmental. That's just how people are. That's how humans are. They come up with assumptions based off of what they see, first impressions, things like that. And, with that in mind, I think always trying to make sure that I'm not giving them a reason to write me off before I get a chance to get in the door is probably. And then I think too, like, just for me personally, like, if I want to perform at a high level, and to perform at a high level, like, I need to make sure I'm taking care of myself. Yeah, like, I'm not still an athlete, but I still have to show up every day, and I still have to put in the hours. I still have to bring energy. I still have to bring a knowledge and an effort level that is exciting to be around and is inviting to be around and can influence people. And I think it starts with, a lot of times, how you present yourself, and you gotta take care of yourself in order to do that.
The Hit Streak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the HitLab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more. I should know this, but I don't. And E, if you have anything, feel free to speak up, right? So at the big league level, was the Yankees the first team that you broke in with when you at the big league level?
Yeah, they were. We had finished. Yeah, we had finished. It's crazy. Like, I was at Indiana University, and we won the Big Ten championship in 2000. That was spring of 2019.
So you just win wherever you go.
And I don't know about that. No, not necessarily. But I've been fortunate to be around some really good players and on some really good staffs. And just like any coach, when you have good players, it makes you look probably a little better than what you actually are. But we won the championship at 19 at Indiana, and then the end of that summer, I got a random phone call, and it was from the Yankees, and they were trying to revamp their player development, looking for some new hitting coaches. It kind of followed some college coaches, the track record of some college coaches, some hitting coaches, and some offenses. And somehow my name had gotten brought up. I had no
Do you
connection.
know how?
There was basically, it was through that. They were researching and finding offenses that had been successful and who was coaching these offenses from a year. And we had some good ones at some places I had been. And we had a really good year that year at Indiana. And I was at a small college before that, Virginia Military Institute, and we had some really good players and put up some really good offensive numbers consistently for a few years there too. So there was a little bit of a track record, and then a little bit of word of mouth. And I had no intent at the time to get into professional baseball. And this is why a lot of times I've shied away a little bit from these long-term goals and just trying to focus on being, great where I'm at, because that's kind of how it's worked for me, where doors have opened where they're supposed to be open and they've closed, where God wants them closed. And I've relied on that a lot. And in this situation, it was like, okay, I don't have any interest in getting in pro ball, but it's the New York Yankees. So so now I have interest. And so they called and wanted me to, talk some hitting with them. And we talked. It's been a couple of weeks. I ended up being like, hey, let's do this. We came to an agreement, me and my wife, like, hey, let's try this. We've never backed away from a challenge.
Yeah.
I've always liked a little bit of this new challenge and almost kind of betting on yourself and going and learning. It was an opportunity for me to continue to grow, which I think if you want to be great in anything, like, you have to be willing to get in those situations, get out of your comfort zone. And it was definitely going to take me out of my comfort zone. I had no idea what professional baseball was like, other than just friends who have played. So I took on the challenge in 2019 to do that. and COVID hit in 2020. So originally I was supposed to go to high A as a high A hitting coach. And I went to spring training that year. Something happened. I don't remember all the details, but they asked me to go to big league spring training. So I've never coached in professional baseball. And really my first experience outside of, I did instructional league for a couple weeks and Dominican instructional league that fall. And my first real experience was going to be at big league camp for the New York Yankees.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, let's roll. Let's do it. No better way to cut your teeth than,
That's
the
awesome.
spring training. And then they told me at spring training, hey, we're going to send you actually to Double A. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and there's no minor league season. So now I'm living in Florida. I just got into pro ball and there's no minor league baseball going on. So basically, long story short, that was maybe the best year of my career, to be honest. I was home with my family a lot, which I hadn't been because of recruiting and coaching in college. I got to work with a lot of guys around Tampa, Latin American players, guys who were living that couldn't go in the complex. I had to figure out how to coach, via Zoom and use technology and make videos and send them to guys and do these like different things that I was used to being in a dugout. That's where I thought my strength was being face-to-face with players in a dugout, strategy, game planning, working with them. And I wasn't able to do that. That was kind of taken away from me a little bit and I had to figure out a way to make it work. I had a full year to kind of understand, data and analytics and a lot of these things that I didn't have the resources in college to learn. So I did that in 2020. And then next thing you know, they asked me to go to big league camp again and go to AAA. So my first year coaching in professional baseball was going to be in AAA for the New York Yankees.
Wow.
And that's how I got started.
Dude.
Yeah, crazy.
That's
crazy.
awesome. That's awesome. Yes, sir.
What is it like being in the Pinstripes?
It carries a different weight for sure. There's, you hear people say it, but man, just the aura, the history, being at spring training and the legends that come back, and sitting there and thinking to myself, like, man, being around guys like, Andy Pettit or seeing Mariano Rivera walking through the hallways or, obviously when Jeter comes back, you have these guys who are just legends who you grew up watching and it definitely carries a different weight. And there's an expectation and a standard that you immediately feel when you put on the pinstripes. And that part I think is special. And it's definitely not for everybody. As everybody knows, there's people who have had a lot of success in New York. There's also people who are great players, have great careers and haven't been able to handle New York. So I think that's a real thing. And I think it's because of that. And I think because of the weight that comes with wearing the pinstripes and the fan base and how much they care. And it's never been something I've ran from as a coach. Like I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable with the challenge. Like, let's go, let's do it. If it works out, awesome. I got confidence that it's going to work out. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to figure out a way to bounce back from it. So I think you got to have that mindset. And anything you want to do to be successful, but when you put on the pinstripes, man, there's a different expectation and people hold you to it. So,
well, I'd say that answers my question.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's again, when people, it just, a lot of people are counting on you.
yeah.
There's no greater compliment on earth
Right.
than to have people count on you like that, right? All right, so check this out. I was blown away. Obviously, the difference between when I went from high school ball to college ball, and the program that I went to in college at the time was very small, and it was they were rebuilding, let's just say. All right. And the reason I went there is because I was going to get to play immediately, and that was what I needed most for development. I'd seen it, I needed to help try to do it. Right. So the gap between high school and college was big, but man, the gap from college to pro was insane. And it was a totally different, like in college, it was like, do everything full speed as fast as you can, because they're obviously building patterns and adolescent men and everything else. And I remember the first professional strikeout I had. I ran back to the dugout. My pitching coach met me at the front step, and they find me in Kangaroo Court.
Kangaroo Court.
Yeah, and he was, and he met me at the, big shout out to ET, but he met me at the top of the steps. He said, "What the F are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Dude, first of all, it's a long season. Second, are you excited you struck out?" Right. He's like, "You look excited." You know what I mean? I was like, no. He's like, you walk back. He's like, and you have from the time you leave home plate till you meet the next hitter to get over it, and then you're going to tell him what you saw and move and help your teammate and move on type thing. And I was just like, I didn't know what shower shoes were. Like, I broke every record and every rule that we had in Kangaroo Court. I got roasted online for a clip that went out yesterday where I was talking about in one of the first pro teams I played on. He passed away, but his name was Jimmy Hurst.
Okay.
Passed away. He had like 300 minor league home runs. Played in Japan, a little big league time. 6'6" or 6'7", just a beast, man. And he passed away this year. And one of the things that he taught us is he always wore sunglasses everywhere he went, and he made me do that. And as a matter of fact, they fined me in Kangaroo Court if I didn't wear sunglasses. And the reason is because he's like, man, you're somebody now. He's like, so act like it. And I was like, well, how do sunglasses do that? He's like, because anytime you see somebody walking around inside with sunglasses, you think, who are they and why are they doing that type thing? He was like, so first of all, he taught me how to brand myself. He taught me how to stand out. But more importantly, he taught me that, like, hey, man, you got responsibility here. Own it type thing. With something as small as wearing sunglasses like at the airport, you know? And I said that yesterday, and of course, everybody roasted me for saying, that's not true. Big leaguer, that's not. I mean, well, it was a team fine, not an organizational fine. It was a team fine. Right. To do that. And to my question, that was a long-winded statement. So to my question, like to not have played at the professional level, like you had to adapt pretty quick. And how big of a jump is, I didn't do anything in the major league level, and I definitely didn't do anything at Yankee Stadium where, I love when Derek Jeter told David Wells, hey, when he was showing some emotion over a misplay, hey man, we don't do that here. Talk to me about what's the biggest things that stood out in the beginning, and like just the standard is so high. Talk to me a little bit about that. Yeah,
I would say if I had any advice for anybody who's getting, whether it's you're going from college to pro ball, from the minor leagues to the big leagues, maybe just making a change in the business world to a different job. When you get there, listen more than you speak. And I think that was something I tried to do when I first got there, because I knew I was smart enough. I was smart enough to know that I didn't know everything. And I was smart enough to know that there were people around here that I could learn from. And now I was confident in what I knew and what I could bring, right? So I had that, but I also knew that there were people there who had experience. There were things that I didn't know that I need to learn if I want to continue to have the opportunity to impact people. So I tried to listen and learn the ways of professional baseball, how you handle yourself, how veterans, are expected to be treated, how the clubhouse is supposed to work, how you're supposed to handle, all the people who are helping you out, whether it's, clubbies or the different support staff members from the video department, from the analytics part, all this, and really just tried to get to know people as well as I could, as fast as I could, and try to listen to the people who have been there and done it. Because I think that the value they bring is just something I knew I didn't have. The knowledge as far as, how to coach a player, like I'm confident in that, but there are just things that I knew I didn't know, and I think I was smart enough to realize that. So I think listening and trying to learn that stuff helped me figure out the ways of professional baseball rather quickly, so I could adapt.
You had to learn those things quick too, man.
I had to learn them quick. I was thrown in the fire, and sometimes I think that's the best way to learn. I was, the same thing happened to me, and probably the most impactful job on my career was going to Virginia Military Institute, and it was for that reason, as I got thrown in the fire, where I was at a really low level Division I. I've never recruited. I had never coached hitters. I was a graduate assistant, volunteer assistant at Western Kentucky before I took that job. It was my first paid job. And I had an awesome coach who was my boss, but he also was a mentor of mine. And he didn't try to stand over my shoulder and watch everything I did and tell me how to do everything. He said, here's what we need to get done, go do it. But he let me find my way and try to figure out the best way to do it. Now, he may course correct me along the way, but he kind of threw me into the fire a little bit. And at a military school with high academic standards, in a small conference, having to recruit nationwide, it was like, drinking out of a fire hose.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a great way to learn. It was like at times I was completely overwhelmed, didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I had to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I think that's the best way to learn is trying to, just being forced to figure it out. Your back's against the wall. Like, how much are you willing to fight to learn this and figure it out? And I think I gained a lot from that experience that's, kind of helped me making the transition into professional baseball too.
You've learned how to, like, anytime you package something, you're making it useful, you're making it pretty. If you're wrapping a present, it becomes you're packaging that gift, right? You're putting the bow on it and all those things. And like, I would say that, like, one of the things me and my media team have been talking about a lot is like, the best at anything, they have the ability to package pressure, right? Because pressure actually don't exist, right? It doesn't actually exist. We put it on ourselves.
Man-made.
Absolutely. Right? But some, I package it every day because that's how I thrive. I'm a competitor. And like, quite honestly, when I was your age, we didn't have a pot to piss in. I don't know what that means or where that statement came from. Somebody asked me the other day, but we didn't have a pot to piss in. Yeah. And, and so so when we finally figured out we were the problem and how to get out of that rut, like that feeling, I still remember what that felt like. And every day, that's one of the first things I do once I wake up, besides, I'm grateful that I woke up and got another day, is I package and create that pressure. It's like, I remember what it was like being broke. I remember I can still taste it. I can still feel it. And then I use it. Now, you're working with guys that have the best mindset on planet Earth, the best mindsets. What's the, I may be wrong about this, but I believe, and I've heard some of them say this, that they all think they're the best, right? Each one of them thinks they're each on their own the best on Earth. That's kind of like a big part of it, right?
Huge part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about the confidence earlier, the mentality part, especially as we're talking about hitting in the big leagues, which is the hardest thing to do there is in professional sports.
Yeah.
The amount of failure that these guys have to deal with night in, night out in front of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on the biggest stage, wearing the pinstripes, it's tough mentally. It's exhausting mentally. And if you don't believe, if you don't believe you're the best in the world at it, you're already beat. The gladiator, every single night, that's what these guys are doing. Like, they're the gladiator entering the arena, and they spend all day, which is probably the sweetest part about my job, is getting to watch. I mean, I love watching, obviously, the games and the dugout and the strategy and competing and win, but like watching what these guys do for the, 7 hours before the game is awesome. That's probably the most fun I have inside my job.
What can you say about that? Yeah, what can you say about that preparation?
Yeah, I can say that it's just way more than you would expect. I think I've gained a different respect for the players that I get to work with on a day-to-day basis, because I get to watch the hours that go into it when nobody's watching. And everybody sees the 4 at-bats. Everybody sees, the play on ESPN. Everybody sees the score of the game. But nobody sees the hours and hours and hours that are going into preparing for that night, for that matchup, or coping with the stress and pressure that it takes to go out there and continue to perform when these guys are going through a slump, and they're hearing it from the distractions from the media and the fans and all the outlets, and having to deal with that and flush it and go out and do it again the next night and the next night and the next night, knowing that inevitably they're going to continue to fail because they're hitters in the big leagues, and hitting is a game. Baseball is a game of failure, but hitting is an act of failure all the time.
All the time.
The best ones in the world are failing, 70% of the time or whatever. Like, it's crazy how much they have to deal with. But to watch what they put into it on a day-to-day basis and getting to be a part of that process is extremely rewarding and gives you a whole new respect for the level of athlete and the type of people you get to deal with on a day-to-day basis, for sure.
The Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhider.com.
When I was playing, we didn't, and there was some guys with great mindsets. And obviously, you know, a guy like Jimmy, and I had a lot of guys that really helped me out that were like, you know, they would hear me saying things that were basically like, dude, no, you can't think like that. Like, you know, but, you know, in my 30s, I started reading. Do guys read at the big league level very much? Like, do you read?
I do. I read. I haven't read as much the last few years as I did before. But I wish it was something that was like a better skill of mine that I did younger. I would say probably I started reading probably in my like mid 20s, and for a 5 or 6 year period, man, I was, you know, really into reading, and I've kind of gotten away from it a little bit the last few years.
Yeah.
But I think it's something now with social media and some stuff like that, which I don't know if it's a good substitute, but I've gotten a little bit more into like, all right, I'll maybe listen to a podcast or follow this person that puts out like bits of content rather than sitting down and reading a book. But I don't think it's as valuable. It's something I need to get better at. I think it's similar to like doing a devotion in the morning, or, you know, reading a tweet about a Bible verse isn't as valuable as like opening the Bible and reading it and diving into it and really trying to like dissect it, which is what I try to do when I read like a book. Like, I'm not just reading the first sentence of the paragraph and skipping down, you know, like I did when I was in school. Like, when I got into reading, it was like, it'd take me forever to read a book because I get really deep into it and I want to go, you know, I don't want to just get the book over with. Like, I want to dive into every sentence. And so it takes me a long time to get through a book because of that. But I've resorted to a little other stuff lately. But
Man, well, it's, you know, I was curious about that because, like, you know, those guys are they have to be incredible. They have to have an incredible mindset. Yeah. They have to have, they've all had paradigm shifts to get where they're at and stay where they're at, more importantly. And, you know, as business people and entrepreneurs, we read a lot. Yeah. We read a lot. Podcasts are great sources for that. I think this one's a good one too. Yeah, you know, no, but at the end of the day, what we're doing here is, you know, we're, it's in the intro, basically, like, you know, so, letting the people that have lived the stories tell the stories to the people that need to hear them. So breaking down the playbook of top performers so other people can have success too. Right. And it's what you find out is everybody's studying something. So, what do you see as the guys, how they get that? How are those guys able to get that mindset at that level? But more importantly, how do they stay sharp with it? Because again, they got everybody on earth saying like that guy sucks, or, you know.
Yeah. I think trusting their process individually, finding out which process works for them and trusting that, and not letting temporary feelings or temporary results take them away from their foundations that keep them going. And I think that's something we deal with all the time as humans. Like, we, you know, don't feel like doing it that day. You know, everybody goes through that. But the quicker you can realize, like, that's just a feeling, it doesn't matter. Continue with what got me here. Continue with this process. The consistency, you know, there's nothing better than consistency if you're trying to achieve anything. I get asked, you know, a lot just from coaching friends of mine, like, hey, what, you know, or it's a workout plan or a diet or whatever. I'm like, dude, like, nothing's going to do it if you don't do it all the time. Like, whatever you do it all the time. Be consistent with it. If there's the fad of this diet to this workout to this plan, this train, I see it all the time with hitting. You know, there's new fads that come up all the time on the hitting. It's like, yeah, like, that could be good for this person. That could be good. But finding what works for you individually and then repeating it over and over and over, like those, it's the little things, it's the mundane things that you have to do over and over and over again that ultimately lead to success. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do those things.
Man. So as we get towards the end of this sucker here. So first of all, like, I had so many things on the list over here to go with. And honestly, man, this has been, I'm having a great time. This has been phenomenal information. Is there anything I've left out that we were supposed to talk about? You know, how are we doing over here? Are we doing good with everything?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So,
you got anything?
Yeah, what you all right, so Ethan, as we're getting to the end here, right? So obviously you're hearing a lot of things that you probably hear a lot at home, and I would say that my dude over there, I would put his work ethic up against anybody's, and he's got a really strong mindset too, which is fantastic. He's confident, but he's confident in a way that makes others feel good. It's not a egotistical type of confidence, but Ethan, again, what you got a hitting coach for the New York Yankees sitting over there. All right. So do you have any questions for him about how you can grow at this part in your journey, or anything like that?
What would you say to your 15-year-old self if you had the information back then that you do now?
Bro, that was a good one. Wow.
That was crazy. I just came up with that. I don't know.
Jeez.
That was
That was explosive right there.
edit what I just said out.
Are you saying from a is this from a life? From a
just as
baseball?
as a baseball player and in your life, what would you say to yourself if you knew the things that you knew now?
I would probably tell myself that it's okay to miss out on some things, and I guess when I say that, FOMO, right? That's fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Was something I think I was handcuffed by for a lot of my teenage, early 20s years, because I was social, I had a lot of friends, I was involved in a lot of different things, and I tried to give my time to all of it all the time, but really I never gave my full amount of time to anything. I gave a part of myself to so many different things and was so spread around and so scattered that I never really was devoted to anything. And, for me, right now, I try to, I still have a lot of friends, a lot of people that I talk to, but, I really try to, silo myself to things that really matter. My family, a few close friends I have, my job, and if I have to miss out on, this or that along the way, that's okay.
It's the path you got to take.
Right. It's the path I got to take. And I wasn't okay with that for forever, because I was like, if I miss out on this, then, who knows who cares? It doesn't matter. Find the main things in your life that truly matter and give your full self to that, and let the other people enjoy the rest. But I would think that was something that definitely held me back for a long time, that it took me a while to realize that. I still struggle with it. I'm in no way am I perfect in that area. But it's something I'm at least conscious of now, and I'm trying to get better at as I get older.
That was profound, as a matter of fact, because again, it's the fear of missing out is real. And he asked me quite often, Dad, if you could do it again, do you think you could make it to the big leagues? And I said, absolutely, because I didn't understand it was a business. I didn't understand how to set real goals. My goal was to play professional baseball. I did that.
Right.
I didn't realize I didn't have the right goal. Right. My goal should have been the best at anything is the person who can get the smallest targets. Yep. Right. And so my goal was to play pro ball, and I did that. And I found out that wasn't actually what I wanted. Right. So it was a very, very valuable lesson, and learn how to set proper goals or targets. And then again, not knowing that it was a business, I was just kind of happy to be there. Yeah. When you can figure out how to navigate through the business of whatever it is that you want to do to get where you want to get to. But again, think about it. All the guys that he coaches that get paid to do what they do, extremely, they're kings. They're literally kings, and they're playing in the Kings Stadium. You know what I mean? So he's coaching kings, and but these guys are there because the team is what it's all about. They're there to add value to the team to win a championship, right? That their fans love, that the fans want to see them win. So every player there, it's about what they bring, right? It's what they can do to help build that team. Yep. It's unbelievable. You got anything else? That was really good. You're going to have a hard time topping that one.
Yeah.
Because I feel the same way. Like looking back on your own career, like you could have played pro ball if you'd really know, if you'd know what you know now. Looking back, if you'd done a few things differently, no brainer, right?
No doubt. Yeah, there's so many areas of my life during that stage that I was lost, and for multiple reasons. One of those being I had no foundation. I didn't know Jesus. My faith wasn't where it is today, and so I was just kind of chasing all kinds of distractions of the world during that time, and that came with not dedicating myself to anything, but just trying to be involved in everything. And anytime you do that, you're not maximizing, and becoming the best version of yourself when you're doing that. So that was definitely a huge part of my journey during that time. But at the same time, like anything else, like I'm grateful for it. It's helped me become who I am today. It's not something I look back and regret. Would it have been sweet to, continue playing? I'm sure it would have.
Yeah.
But I also am super blessed to have, the family I have right now, to be where I'm at today, to have the job I'm at today, like all that happened for a reason to get me to where I'm at today. And who knows what would happen if it went a different route.
No doubt.
This is where I've been called to be today. And so I'm blessed that it went the way it did. And now it's my job and my responsibility and my purpose to try to not let my own boys, but also, a lot of the people I get to coach or get to have an impact on through the game of baseball, not go down that same path, not fall for those same distractions, same temptations that I did during that time, and to try to avoid that and, find a better route for themselves.
Incredible. Casey, any final thoughts for the folks out there as we get there? And if you have anything else, get ready. All right. So any final thoughts, Casey, that any value you'd want to add to the millions listening around the world today?
I don't know. We've covered a lot. This has been awesome, man. I've obviously listened to the podcast. I've seen you on Instagram. I got familiar with you guys when you came up to New York this year. So I think extremely highly of you guys as a family, and
thank you.
I appreciate you having me on. It means a ton, and wish you guys obviously more and more success moving forward, and obviously look forward to seeing you play in center field in Yankee Stadium one day.
That's right.
Cool, well, you were my hitting coach.
Shoot, he'll be the skipper by then, or the GM. He might just be running the joint.
Yeah.
If I'm still there when you're playing Yankee Stadium, man, I'll be extremely thankful. That's for
right.
Sure.
That's right. Well, again, gratitude and entitlement cannot coexist, right?
The Hitstreak is powered by Rack Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, Rack Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out Rack Financial.
Let's tell a quick little story about our time at Yankee Stadium, right? So Hunter hooked us up with you. You didn't know us from Adam at the time. So we're going there, and we'd already gotten tickets. Then you came through with tickets that were way better than the ones that we had bought. And they came. They were like, "Hey, come for BP. You're going to get to go out on the field." And I was just like, "Holy crap!" Right? So we get there. We're doing the thing. Now BP lasts hours at a big league stadium, right? So, and you're obviously really busy as the hitting coach during batting practice.
Right.
Well, something happened where there was a mix-up, and we weren't on the list. And man, he answered the phone. It was unbelievable. He answered the phone when my wife was calling, because you were disappointed, right? It was it was like, oh man, we're not going to get to do it. I kept telling you, I was like, just regardless, we're going in there. You know what I mean? But like, you called back. You actually had to talk to my wife twice.
Yep.
To get us in there.
Had to get it figured out.
Well, dude, like I couldn't imagine. Like I was like, dude, he's got everything going on. But I kept telling her, I was like, let's just leave him alone. Like this is his busiest time of the day right here. So first of all, thank you. My dream came true that day, regardless, and I think his did too. But here's the point is this: it didn't work out like we thought it was going to work out. It worked out better for us in the end because we were the last one standing there for a minute. And when it came our time to go in, we got our own private escort onto the field. Everybody else had to walk in as a group. And we got to leave with that same group, and it was totally different than when we walked in. And the people that walked us in were so nice. Like the whole organization is just top notch, first class. From the people greeting you at the door,
Awesome.
It's unreal. It's like, so I would say that the greatest gift you're getting, Casey, is that you're seeing what something is done at the highest and largest level on earth, and that's like to be a fly on the wall for something like that is life changing, and you're contributing to it every day.
Yeah, it's special. I know I said it earlier, but I try not to take it for granted. It's a long season. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of work, but try not to take it for granted. Try to, wake up every day and have enthusiasm to go make an impact in whatever way I can. Like, I understand too, like, I'm not naive enough to know that New York Yankees are going to go on with or without Casey Dykes.
Sure.
But right now I have an opportunity to make an impact while I'm there. So it's my duty to do that. And I do think too, talking about the tickets and things like that, like that's been something that's been really, really neat. I'll tell a quick story.
Come on.
A guy that I coached, he was a player, but then kind of had a manager position at one of the colleges I was coaching. He actually, was in Boston, and I'll leave his name.
Hold on, let me find it. Hold on, is it this one? No, that's not. Sorry, that Boston is.
There you go. Nice. I like that. He was in Boston. He hits me up. He's like, "Hey man, I'm going to be in Boston. Want to come to the game?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, dude! I'd love to see you." He comes out to BP and we hang out for a little bit, get to talk a little bit. And like 3 weeks ago, he calls me and basically is like, "Hey, thank you so much for having me out. I was supposed to come out with my dad. My dad just passed away. He was sick during that time. I was supposed to bring him out, but I took a ton of videos. I took it home to him. He got to see him. It was like one of the coolest things that he got to do during his time of kind of being sick. And we kind of knew this was coming for a little while and was hoping to get him there. I didn't tell you at the time because I didn't want you to, have to deal with that. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, man, this is like just more perspective, right? Like this is so much bigger than me and a job that I get to have. Like this is about this is an opportunity and a platform to impact people and give other people experiences, and I think that's what ultimately, like, that's what life is, and being able to keep that perspective and have that selfless mindset, that it's not about you, it's about something so much greater than you could ever imagine, and being able to try to wrap your mind around that and remind yourself of that daily, is a special perspective that I try to keep in the forefront of everything I do.
I couldn't think of a better way to bring it to a close. E, did we cover it all? You got anything? You got any other value you can add, or any other questions? You good?
I mean, all I know is that night that we got into the stadium was one of the best nights of my life. One, walking on the dirty Yankee Stadium and seeing Judge punish the Red Sox.
That's right, he did. He saw the Grand Slam, the infamous Grand Slam. That was unbelievable.
That's insane.
Unbelievable. So, well, dude, Casey, the world needs more Casey Dykes. I'm going to throw that out there right now. So I'm challenging you.
I don't know about that.
I'm challenging you. Like, again, you can help a lot of folks, and like, bro, you're unbelievably intelligent, well-spoken, and like, you're the real deal, dude. Straight up. The world needs more. A lot of people can learn from you. And I would love, I'm throwing this out there right now, but like, I'd love to continue conversations with you on, we're getting pretty good at this thing called social media. And literally I interviewed a young lady earlier who has billions with a B of views across her platforms and whatnot. And so like, dude, I would just love to see more of it. Anything I can do to help, anything we can do to help, please, man. The world needs more Casey Dykes, bro.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you allowing me to come on, man. You guys have been killing it. And just when you reached out and were like, hey, you want to be a part of this? I'm like, shoot, yeah, absolutely. So
that's right.
Thank you guys.
That's right. Well, folks, we're hanging out with former D1 athlete and the current assisting hitting coach of the New York Yankees, Casey Dykes. Check him out on Instagram at Casey Dykes1 and on Twitter at Casey Dykes, right? So big shout out to my co-host today, Ethan Hyder. All right, so E, thanks for hanging with me today, man, with your old man today.
That was fun. I enjoyed it.
All right, so and again, he just showed up today. Like, I don't know how he got here. We'll figure that out.
I don't know. I can't drive legally yet. I just teleported here, man. That's what I do.
Gotcha. Well, Casey, thanks so much for the time today, baby. Seriously, you are the man, brother.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.